Good afternoon once again. Thank you for joining us for our Signal Innovation Showcase. Our next speaker is Aaron Boatler, Chief Technology Officer at Cloud Current LLC, and he is going to lead a discussion on applying storyboarding to the cyber arena. So Aaron, welcome to the podium.
Thank you, George. I have a stellar audience here. My name is Aaron Boatler. I'm CTO of a startup company called Cloud Current, and we are creating a product that does 3D cyber rendering, and we've recently incorporated storyboarding capabilities, which basically gave a major breakthrough at a DOE cyber exercise, and that's what this presentation is about, and we're going to show you the power of applying storyboarding in the cyber arena. So first, a little introduction. You have your cyber market. For me, you have your cyber tool market forensics, lots of tools out there. You have a security incident, some enterprise attack happens, you start, these teams just go flooding through these tools, very laborious to try to piece together the picture of what happened. You look at, your asset inventory device configs, timestamp logs, SIEMs, alert AI summaries. It's very labor intensive. And so one of the challenges in this is, where is this picture? So you have the low-level people, they can develop that rich picture in their head of what's going on, but the challenge is actually revealing that, showing that same picture to the stakeholders so you can convey what happened. And one of the issues with the limit in the tools right now is they will create a view, but it's static in nature. Where's the dynamicism to tell what happened? And you lose a lot of, you handicap your analysis of it. So what if we can actually go beyond that static picture, beyond the spreadsheets and the block diagrams that these analysts create, and let's put together a dynamic story of what happened in a 3D rendering environment. And that is what I'm going to show you today, and I'm going to show you that's exactly what we did in this DOE NNA cyber exercise last year, and it was a breakthrough detection of, we actually were 100% on what the red team did, how they maneuvered, and I'm going to show you the animation we presented in that. And of course, the goal of this is to show you there's a power of a good cyber picture which is lacking in the market today. And when you have it, it basically upscales your team to this is a picture, this is your weakness, this is how they maneuvered, and it gives you so many advantages to operate on. So first question, the cyber arena, how do you get that picture? Well, you look at what you have, you look at your device configs, your asset scans, you can bring in, your different compliance, different, Splunk logs and all that. And then, of course, with the time nature of it is you want to look at your temporal events. Like in this exercise, we brought in Nozomi, Traffic Alerts, Sepio, and Eclipsium, where basically any SEM repository could act as a source to be able to storyline of what happened. And I also like to point out, there's really, in creating this picture, you really need the right physical context of your network. You'll notice in a lot of these tools over here where they do network mapping, it's a static map. It's a simple force-directed layered algorithm. And when you lose your context, it really limits your ability to develop your intuition and see what's going on here. And I'm going to show you, we actually have a physical layout which laid out the IT/OT environment, and we matched 100% with them, and you'll see that in the animation. So, as we talked about, what if you had this 3D dynamic picture? Well, VStrike, the cyber platform, does that for you. It provides that capability. It's empowered by a 3D gaming engine, so it creates that rich visual environment. It gives you all the cool animation effects so you can convey quickly what's going on visually. We built it from the very beginning because of the complexity of the cyber arena and the many lanes that this fits to be an open plugin architecture, where our goal is anybody can come in, create new plugins for interface into this sensor, interface into Sentinel-1, bring in this data, add some new action plugins where you can do dynamic control or reports, so you can handle these different lanes. And this has allowed us to pivot this platform into multiple use cases. Like, for example, we have an integration with the data center going on in Dartnode where we're going to be providing monitoring of their cloud instances for their customers. Now, given this platform that provides this great foundation. Now, and this is actually the type of foundation you need, so then you can turn around and we applied storyboarding concepts to it. And where the goal was is you can bring in these different events, time dependent, and you can create storylines for scenarios. And what I'm going to demo to you is we created a storyline of, at this DOE Imperial Catfish exercise, of how they maneuvered in the network. And we were, again, I just want to brag, we're 100% spot on. And we presented it after the red team outbrief. And also like to point out, like in the storyboarding, which we found very powerful, is once you have these events, it's very important to be able to go forward, backward, and pivot in your timeline to get that deeper understanding of how the bad actors and the bots, operated. So cyber storyboarding, what is it? Well, we're using a lot of principles in typical like movie creation. How do you tell a story of what happened? And so, as you know, with this in Arena, you get this crazy amount of event activity. Now we're throwing in like AI summary detections with it. So how do you create this story? So basically, we have this open plugin architecture. You can bring in these different sources of data, Defender logs, SEMS. We have traffic alerts from like Nozomi in this exercise. And then from there, you basically select what I want to filter, what I want to create the storyline on, and then you can basically animate that story, forward and backward and pivot over your network map. And again, I want to point out, you really need a good physical layout of your map because that gives you the context of how they operated. And that was key with us quickly detecting that in this exercise, their goal was to mimic the Volt Typhoon attack that we learned after the fact. So once you have your storyboard in, as you can imagine, you get the power of a visual representation. You get the power of showing it to all the stakeholders. Everybody can get on sync. And also the power of that, be able to storyboard like live or post, is you can see how these maneuvers happen from the beginning to the middle end. Now think about that. If you start seeing a similar pattern happening at the beginning on a live network, that gives you time to operate, to look at decoys, to look at countermeasures, create a honey net, to take it, to start sucking in that and figure out what's going on here. And with this storyline, that gives you strong, actionable, threat intelligence. So then you can kind of basically, propagate up the chain. Hey, these are how these actors are moving, and in particular, like the Typhoon category of, hackers from China. So here I want to go through the success we had. It was a huge success. We deployed at the NSA DOE. We started 2 weeks before the exercise. We quickly interfaced with Nozomi, Eclipsium, Sepio, and we sucked in that data. We learned after the fact that its goal was to simulate a real Volt Typhoon attack in the IT/OT infrastructure. We provided an accurate map. We leveraged these other tools, data coming in here, their strengths, brought it in there. And I basically just looked at some key events. It was pretty simple to figure out what happened. I just saw, hey, there's a lot of TCP floods. Storyline it, let the node glow red. Storyline encrypted comms. It was just some simple things that I looked at. I animated it. We saw how the red team flooded the IT side. We saw all of a sudden they went into the OT side, and we saw the box that they targeted and they shut down was a power substation. With the ability to do timeline pivot, we zeroed in on it. We saw from the targeted power substation where did the attack came from. With that, identified this was the box that the red team owned. I pivoted then from that box that the red team owned. I saw this is that was the source of the OT scanning, and then they also scanned the blue team side. And then from there, I pivoted on the blue team, and I would say they were just doing some simple ping operations. So you imagine when I create the animations, like I hope I don't tick them off because this is what I'm going to show, where the blue team was not effective in this operation. It presented, we were spot on. It was just great. It was a fist bump moment. And I'm actually going to show you the animation that we presented there. So this is the animation. You'll see there's various components of their network, and this is part of our physical layout algorithm where you can basically give some property, some IP octet range, something, and you can actually create a real map of your network with your offices and sites. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. It's a short one. Say, is it playing? All right, so now we're beginning this animation. And how I have it configured just for speed is I put 8-hour time chunks for this animation, and I step through it. And from there, you see a little scanning. Is this playing? Yeah. Oh, I need to highlight it. Okay. Thanks. I would have kept clicking. All right, cool. So here, I'm playing the animation. You'll see you start stepping through some events. You see what's going on. This is what we storyboarded. We start to have some slow scanning. Then we'll hit a crescendo of TCP flooding the IT side. And then from there, I'll quickly pivot to, hey, this was the OT device that shut down. It was this firing events, So here I'm pivoting to the OT device. From there, I pivot the timeline, and then that basically tells me who was flooding this box, who was like getting in this box. And you'll see here, it was basically one box on the IT side. And this was the box that the red team took ownership of in this exercise. There's that box. And then from there, I pivot the timeline again. What did that red team box do? And you see that it scanned the blue team side, but that was the source of flooding the OT side. And then what I did was, all right, what did the blue team, how did the blue team respond to it? So then I went to the blue team box, pivoted the timeline again, and this is how they responded. They just did a few simple pings. And this is what we presented, out there. And again, I just want to say we were 100% with the red team out booth. And there's a couple vendors here, Nozomi, Ecliptium, and all that, and they'll confirm we were spot on. And this animation was created without knowing, what they did and the purpose of it. Okay. All right, let me go to the next slide. So here's a quick summary again of the key events in this exercise. You have the initial scan-in, the pivot to the heavy flooding and all that, and the different stages and the IPs of interest. And I do want to show you that, we have this cool 3D animation, creating the storyline of what happened. But there are other views that give you very powerful insights. One is our behavioral views, where you can basically look at based on different selectors and all. And in this case, I was like, gee, who's firing events like crazy that, the OT device is not updating, the state variables of it. And you quickly see here, boom, this was the energy power substation. You can tell this device basically just shut down. It just wasn't firing anymore. And this was a Nozomi alert. That key information in turn told me this was the target. And then that gate allowed me to put together the path of, the puzzle of what happened. And this did not take long. I mean, literally, this was just, once I got the data, I don't know, it'd be kind, 2 days, 3 days, this is what they did. And then this is what I put together, created the animation, and we presented it. Okay. So I want to kind of strengthen, again, like to point out, this is one-of-a-kind cyber storyboarding. I have not seen this in the market. It uses the concept of storyboarding in the 3D cyber arena. To basically achieve that, you basically need the right foundations. That is a good 3D rendering engine. You need an open plugin architecture so you quickly interface to other products. And basically, just from years of experience and all that, we have a very powerful data fusion engine that allows you to bring all these disparate pieces together in a cohesive picture. This was a proven breakthrough. When you have the right data, the plugins is extremely powerful cyber forensics tool. It kind of reveals the digital trails of what's going on, and I kind of see once you can establish time behavior and all that, it'll support higher order detections. And it provides a dynamic security posture. You can use this with postmortem, forward deploy, and even live sec knock operations. We are in the midst of getting this ready for a deployment at TAC with their hospital IT/OT infrastructure, where they want to achieve the same thing that was achieved here, and we're going to be integrating with deep tempo. So I like to point that, with the right data, this VStrike, uncovers what's going on. It upskills your team, because basically when you provide a good visualization, as you know, it's very simple to convey what happened, how did it happen, and then what can you do to prevent it, and what type of decoys can you do. It's a very powerful solution, and we're rolling with it. So we're putting out there, and just so you know, I have a few flyers back there if any of you want to see it. So next steps, I'm going to open up the discussions. We got flyers, over there, and that's a quick summary. Is there any questions, or I can go back to a previous slide? Sure. 2 weeks. Yeah. Yes, the time window is, so basically in your live update, and you can slide the time window. Say you want to do 1 day, 2 days, or 2 hours. You can vary to slide it. And you create multiple storylines of how you want to look at the event stream. So you can say, hey, this event, this one event, it's just white noise, filter it out. I only care about these key ones. And in this case, I just focused on TCP flooding, encrypted comms, new IP, so I detected IP spoofing going on here. And I just focused on those key ones, and I storylined that. And once I did that, animated, I saw it quickly. And as I envisioned, we talked with the IR team at the DOE, where basically you can deploy this live, have it operational. The analyst can slide the window, and they can start seeing, gee, over 8 hours, when am I detecting like heavy TCP flooding? Where is it coming from? And then you can like shrink it down if you want. Like I said, we're looking at, with this TAC deployment, to expand that further to integrate with the deep tempo, the AI detection of activity going on for a hospital IT/OT infrastructure. So it's designed to be flexible, because, from the world I've come from, with these type of like hunting capabilities and all that, you got to be able to create flexibility. Like when I was implementing these storyboarding concepts, it's very important to be able to pivot your timeline, because that gives you a big insight, not just a flat story. 2 minutes, okay. All right, we have 2 more minutes.
It's very good.
Oh, thank you. Any other questions? I'll be here afterwards. You want to keep chatting, and we do have some flyers there. Like I said, we're a new company bringing this product out. We're just throwing it out there, see if anybody's interested. Any questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
What kind of environment can you plug in? Like,
Sure, the deployment.
meaning the data. What kind of data and what kind of environment?
It's very flexible. We're actually integrating with a data center in Houston, Texas called DartNode, and that's for their cloud infrastructure. We have a couple AWS users also running on their server right there. So it's all based on the plug-in architecture, where I can do mixed cloud, enterprise. We can pull, SEM data, Sentinel-1, Splunk. It's all based on the plugins, where they're responsible for normalizing it and bringing it to the system. Now, for the deployment environments, we built it from the very beginning to support like an edge deployment, an enterprise deployment on-prem, and then a SaaS. Like we were talking to a couple of the companies doing flyaway kits, where they could put it on their laptop to present a new way. Hey, this is my portal into my forward deploy analytics. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. That was great. Thank you all for being here. Our next session and final session of the day will be at 4:20 on AI and mission essential data. Thank you.
Hey, thanks.